All right, today we're diving into a fascinating intellectual mystery, a kind of logical puzzle that's been tucked away in the Talmud for centuries. It's a riddle that makes you question whether a really important temple ritual was even possible to perform correctly. Let's get into it.
Okay, just imagine this for a second. There's this one fundamental rule, right? A line you absolutely cannot cross. If you do, everything that follows is instantly worthless. Now, what if there's a sacred ceremony that, when you look at it, seems to force you to break that exact rule right at the start? That's the core of the problem we're unpacking. It's this incredible collision of law and ritual that had even the wisest ancient sages scratching their heads.
So to really wrap our heads around this, we first have to get a handle on a really core principle of kosher law. Think of it like the point of no return. It's what defines the exact moment an animal is considered ritually dead.
And that point of no return has a name. It's called a neveilah. It basically means an unslaughtered carcass. See, once an animal crosses that line and becomes a neveilah, it's ritually impure. There's no going back. It can never be made kosher. So you can see, the stakes here are incredibly high.
Now, the rule for this comes from a sage named Ziari, and it is super specific. He says that if you break the neck bone and cut most of the flesh around it at the same time, bam, that animal is instantly a neveilah. It's considered ritually dead, and get this, even if its heart is technically still beating. That's a crucial detail.
Okay, so keep that very strict rule in your back pocket. Now, let's pivot to a really unique ceremony, one that was only for bird offerings in the ancient Jerusalem temple. This ritual is called melikah, which literally means pinching, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Instead of using a special knife, the priest actually uses their thumbnail, and they start from the back of the bird's neck, the nape. So, the logical assumption here would be that the priest just goes to the back of the neck and in one single strong pinching motion severs everything that needs to be severed. We're talking the neck bone, the spinal column, and the important stuff like the windpipe and gullet. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Well, this is exactly where our paradox kicks into high gear. Okay, here it is. This is the moment where these two ideas just slam into each other. You've got Ziari's super strict rule on one side, and on the other, you've got what we think is the procedure for this sacred pinch. And, well, they just don't add up. It's a major contradiction.
Let's lay it out. The rule says breaking the neck bone with most of the flesh makes the bird a neveilah, a dead carcass. But the ritual of melikah seems to demand that you do exactly that as the very first step. See the problem?
Just to hammer it home, remember what Ziari said. His rule is totally unambiguous. The second that bone breaks, along with the flesh, that bird is ritually dead. So, what in the world is the priest actually doing here? And this brings us to this brilliant, devastatingly simple question from the sage Rava. If the bird becomes the neveilah, the very instant he starts the pinch, then the whole rest of the ritual is pointless, right? He's just performing it on a dead animal. So Rava asks, does he just stand there and pinch a dead bird?
That question, it feels like a checkmate, right? The paradox seems completely airtight. But Rava doesn't just pose the problem, he offers a solution that completely reframes how we look at the whole procedure. This is the big aha moment.
So it turns out the entire problem, the whole paradox, hinges on one flawed assumption, that everything happens in a single simultaneous motion. Rava's insight is that it's not one step at all. The correct procedure is actually two distinct, carefully sequenced steps.
Okay, look at how this works. In step 1, the priest uses his thumbnail to cut only the spinal column and the neck bone, but, and this is key, he leaves most of the flesh around it intact. By doing that, he cleverly avoids breaking Ziari's rule. Then, in step 2, he continues the cut and severs the windpipe or gullet along with the rest of the flesh.
So the whole genius of this is the timing. The bird is not considered dead after step 1 because only the bone was cut, not the flesh with it. The actual ritual slaughter, the part that makes the offering valid, is step 2, when the vital organs are finally severed. By splitting it into two actions, the priest makes sure the bird is still ritually alive at the exact moment the critical cut is made. Problem solved.
Okay, that is an absolutely ingenious theory. It's so elegant. But is it just a clever thought experiment, or is there actually evidence in the ancient sources to back this two-step solution up?
Amazingly, yes. We find this other story where a different sage, Rabbi Zira, is traveling and he hears Rabbi Ami teaching this very rule from Ziari, and guess what? He asks the exact same question that Rava did.
So, does one stand and pinch a dead bird? This is incredible because it shows us this wasn't just a one-off problem, it was a real, perplexing issue for the greatest minds of the era.
And the text says that Rabbi Ami was astonished for a moment. You can almost picture him, right? He just stops, the gears turning in his head as he works through the contradiction on the spot. And then he arrives at the exact same conclusion as Rava. He explains that no, the priest cuts the bone first without the majority of the flesh. It's just an amazing moment of intellectual convergence, two brilliant minds in different places, independently arriving at the very same elegant solution.
But if you want the ultimate proof, the smoking gun, it comes from an even older source, a teaching called a Baraita, and it explicitly describes the procedure. I mean, it lays out the two-step process perfectly. It says the priest cuts the spinal column and neck bone without a majority of the flesh until he gets to the gullet or windpipe. And then, once he's there, he cuts those vital organs along with the majority of the flesh. It's a perfect, undeniable confirmation of Rava's solution.
You know, when you step back, this whole ancient debate is so much more than just a clarification about a ritual procedure. It's really a testament to the power of asking the right questions, of having the courage to look at an assumption everyone else takes for granted and just challenge it. It's about seeking logical coherence, even within a sacred tradition. And it kind of reminds you that real progress, whether it's an ancient law or modern science, so often begins with someone brave enough to ask that simple, powerful question, wait a minute, does this actually make sense?